Indeed. A very good evening, good afternoon, good morning, depending on where and when you're watching us from. My name is Mutathi Wachira Wanyaga, Mujiro wa mbari ya Karigithi, na ngwĩhoka kuma ng'ongo ciothe iria ciumaga huho mũrĩ thayũ. Today is a beautiful day, it's the 28th day of January. The year is 2024. Apparently, today is the last Sunday for this month, and I hope January or the 70 or the 80 days, 100 days of January has been good to you wherever you are. And this is the state of the continent. So we are here to tell you basically what has been happening in Africa for the past 1 week since we were last here live. And joining me tonight is basically no new faces, people that you already know. There's Collins and Jeff Waheto on the other side. So guys, we are apologize for starting a little bit late today. Something was up and we had to, make sure that everything is okay. But nevertheless, we have whatever has been happening in the continent ready for you. But before we do that, before we get into the details, let me hear from our people here or my people here. Collins, how are you? How has this week been for you so far? The 100 days, has January been 100 days or 28 days for you?
It has been 101 days. It's a never ending month. Otherwise, my week has been fine. It has been hectic, but we pushed through. My Sunday has been nice, relaxed. I've gotten a chance to unwind, and I'm happy to be here informing you about the happenings within our beautiful continent.
Thank you, Collins, for being here. Jeff, what about you? Maisha inakupelekaje?
I'm very fine. Hey, but I feel January imekimbia sana. Hey, it's like yesterday tulivukisha tu mwaka. Hii mwaka inakimbia sana, but we hope for the best. We will achieve our
Yeah.
goals.
I also feel the same actually. I also feel this January has been so fast. Missy vile imeisha, as in it's so fast. But either way, we thank God for the powers and the health that we are here today. Now, let us get directly into what is happening. And starting from my end, Collins, I know you have been following, and Jeff also, and I'm not sure whether our guests have been following. Not our guests really, but our audience have been following what has been happening. But the first thing that I like to highlight today is AFCON. I really like football when it is against countries versus countries. I really don't know why, but I really love when people are not only playing for the money in terms of the leagues, but now they're playing also for something higher, like representing their country. That's why AFCON and the World Cup is normally close to my heart. And AFCON so far, I don't know whether you guys have been watching it, but so far it has been very interesting. Initially, it started like the underdogs, quote unquote, were coming up, but and then things started like changing into a manner that, we did not. But right now, we have seen that all the teams that have made to the round of 16 or we've seen, and those that did not made it to the round of 16 or basically they have passed the group stage. And it is so sad that our friends or our neighbors here to the south hawakuweza kufika katika michuano, sijui ilikuwa vipi. Collins, I don't know whether you follow that, but however, we are glad right now that things are going on well, if I can put it like that, because as at now, as at this moment that I'm speaking, we are sure that Nigeria and Angola have made it to the quarterfinals. So we don't know whether Nigeria and Angola will go to the semis and eventually to the finals. We don't know. Just wait to see. But Collins, I know ulikuwa unashabikia wali watu wako wa Morogoro na I remember that player that you're telling me about who's mentioned in that song. Eh?
Yeah. I was championing for our neighbors, but it looks like they didn't do us proud this time. But there's always a next time. They went out in the group stage. I'm not sure if they won any match, but you know what they say. There's always a next time. At least they reached there, because for our country, we've
Yeah.
been trying for years on end, and we've never gotten there. So that they just got there, I think
Mm,
that's victory enough. And like
mm,
you said, it's always a good thing to see Africans fighting for Africa. And
mm,
this tournament, just like you said, has been unpredictable, but that's the fun part of it because you don't know what to expect. And thus
Mhm.
far, I can say it has not disappointed. It has been very entertaining for us
Yeah,
football
it has been very interesting because you cannot really predict. You are thinking that you are predicting this, and then you are not. Something that changes in the match. And I don't know people who are betting, and I know they are watching, and they don't know what I don't know the mood because that they are having right now. But let us just stop and see. Jeff was telling me anashabikia Brazil, and I'm telling Jeff, Brazil is not in Africa, and Brazil is not in Africa. Jeff, am I lying?
You are lying. You are lying. Very much lying.
Yeah.
Wacha kwanza niko. You
Yeah.
see, I recently watched the game between Nigeria and Cameroon. Kuna jamaa anaitwa Ademola Lookman. That guy has a great physique. That guy will as far. Alafu there's something that I've noticed. People are not embracing the AFCON. Unaona venye they are just knowing countries. Yani ukiuliza mtu akanajua player moja wapi. Unaona the English Premier League. People are not embracing that. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's sad because we are hoping that this Africanness should be there. We are always busy, championing for Chelsea, for Manchester, whatever Premier Leagues, the La Liga and all other European leagues. But when it comes to our own AFCON and even the Europa, but when it comes to AFCON, we are not seeing it as much as people are not really championing it. Maybe we hope, because Collins has said, we hope 2027. This thing is now coming home. Yeah, in 2027 it will be in Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. So we hope maybe we'll see it more, because maybe we are not seeing it because it's in Cote d'Ivoire. So hopefully when Kenya will make it there by default, because I'm sure they will not have fought for it. Let us hope that time things will have been a little bit different, and I know, as Jeff has said, that people are not sure about the players. Somebody was telling us, Collins, I don't know if you remember, somebody was saying that he know Bwana Samata from the song, and he actually did not know it's an artist. They did not know that, not an artist, really, a player. They thought it's just like a rhyming thing that person plays there. So right now, I think they now know, and we are glad to hear that. Now, also there's some more happening in the continent. I don't know what, Collins, you've been seeing.
It looks like Tanzania is going to feature a lot on our show today. So there have been protests in Tanzania over the past week. You remember during Magufuli, the late Magufuli's time, he banned street protests by opposition parties, a ban which was lifted by Her Excellency President Samia Suluhu almost a year ago. And in keeping with that lifting of the ban, the opposition party of Tanzania over the past week has been holding protests. The opposition party of Tanzania is the Chadema party, Chama cha Demokrasia na Maendeleo. So they have basically been calling for constitutional reforms and change in election laws, because if you realize, the elections in Tanzania are almost coming up, and the opposition feels that it's time they stood up for themselves and basically expressed their interest of what they think a free and democratic election looks like. And this to me is very welcome news, because we were with you the other time in Tanzania, and according to the sentiments we had, the political space there is not as free as it is in Kenya, because in Kenya, somebody can come out and criticize the government and nothing happens to them. But there it's sort of restricted. So seeing people doing this and coming out of the streets to express their views is a step that they're indeed heading in the right direction.
Yeah.
I don't know if you follow that news and what are your
Collins,
thoughts on it.
actually, let me tell you something funny. In our high school, we used to have our geography teacher was called Mr. Wycliffe, and he used to say, "Wale wa Chadema." at that point, people used to know in our school. I'm sure even some of them still do know that way. Chadema ni wale people who used to go back for a second time. They go back. Our school used cafeteria method. It was not table service. So you go there and you're served and you move on. So he used to say there are some people who belong to the Chadema party, and he was saying he was the patron of the Chadema party. So for a very long time, people in our high school knew Chadema was wale watu wanarudia chakula. But right now, I'm sure some people who are watching, they now know it's a party in Tanzania, actually. And it's good when you're seeing such things happening. Africa is very, in terms political environment is sometimes very hot, especially when you're coming or we are nearing elections. And Tanzania next year they're having the elections after the death of John Pombe Magufuli, and it is their due right to actually fight for whatever they think it is right. And as you have said, we were there and they were saying, even here you cannot be allowed to say some things. The way you people speak freely in Kenya, it is not the way they speak there. So I don't know, Collins. I just hope that it will be peaceful eventually and people will accept results in that country. Yeah.
Okay, and I noticed something. You see, protests in Tanzania, they are very peaceful. Nakumbuka like ours, maandamano. Some theft, destruction of property must happen. Yeah. And on my side, back to our country, Kenya.
Yeah, you're speaking of protest, you're also following something on protest.
Yeah, right now. In our country, Kenya, the rising over the past 1 week, there have been rising of killings among women. And it was yesterday, people came out and from different cities went to the street to demonstrate against the increased killing. What caught my attention is that Nairobi women rep, Esther Passaris, was booed because she remained silent as the killings were happening. What do you think about that?
Collins.
Yeah, the sentiments within the country regarding this issue have been very varied with some people being in support of it, some people not being so much in support of it. But you realize that I think it's high time we need to protect our women, because they are our mothers, they are our sisters, and they need to live in a safe. It's just we do not relate to, it does not hit home. But if you take your time and come and think of it, that this girl being abused could be your sister, could be your mother, could be your aunt, it really hits home. And it's good that they've stood up, or we are standing up against crimes against women. And a point to note is that I was going through X today, and a lot of women were praising how peaceful their protests were, trying to suggest that it's men who bring in chaos during time of protests. But yeah, it's good to see them standing up for themselves, and we hope that we'll see things change and we'll not be hearing of such stories again, even going into the future.
Yeah, I really don't have much to say there. Collins have really sum it up, and also this issue, I'm just waiting to first of all see how the country will behave, and hopefully things will be okay and people will be okay. However, I'll just say also it is everybody's constitutional right to express yourself, to protest peacefully, and it is actually protected by the constitution. I just hope that eventually, my prayer is eventually this issue of women versus men should just come to a good conclusion where all of us live at peace, in peace and at peace. These issues are really not light, and some people taking it very lightly. It is not really as good. So I can see comments coming in. I just remind our guests or our audience who are watching us live, you can send in your comments. We can read. You can also react to them. We have been following some things, and you're also following. Maybe you can tell us what are your thoughts on the femicide, against the protest against femicide, and also what is happening in Tanzania, and also what we have mentioned earlier. I can see Ken Kiptoke Terry is sending in some comments saying, tuned. Happy New Year, good people. Glad to see you, Washira, and the panelists. Good to have you here, Ketere. Umepotelea wapi this year? We haven't heard from you. And then we are seeing Ken Kiptoke saying that feminists having filled a passing cloud this one. Hey, okay. And then we see Ruria saying, "A man like Jeff." Okay, Jeff, I think that's your friend. Now, and to move on, what is happening in the other part of the country, in East Africa, basically in Burundi. You see, funny thing, I was following Collins, I was following this story, and I was just, I don't know whether shocked, amazed, or what. Economy to expand by 4.3% in 2024, buoyed by agriculture. And that's what the IMF is saying. It is in Burundi. You know, Burundi economy is expected to increase by 4.3% in the year 2024. And you know, we are not hearing such kind of things in other parts of the country. I mean, of the continent, especially in our very own country here in Kenya. But in Burundi, they are saying that things are going to be looking good, especially because of the agriculture sector. You know, remember, this is the same country that had a shortage of currency after 2015 political crisis. You guys remember the issue of 2015 political crisis, the time of, you know, Pierre Nkurunziza and things that are happening in that country. But right now, EU and that is European Union, and also the US, have agreed to resume their financial support to this country because something is looking good. And remember, this is a country, a very, let me say, a small country in terms of population, because it has only 12 million people who actually rely on agriculture. So when we are hearing such kind of news, I think I'm happy as an African, because when you're hearing that economies are expected to increase, that is really good news. And I'm happy for that. I don't know whether you guys have anything to say about that.
Yeah, I'm also happy for them. It looks like the systems are indeed working. And I'm just trying to compare the situation to the one in which we find ourselves in this country, because last year we were given subsidized fertilizer and told the unga will be 100, it will even be 90. And
Yeah.
it's close to a year from then, and we can see nothing from it.
Yes.
And it's not due to weather conditions or things of that sort. It's just when you put in systems at work, they work to your benefit. And the only thing we can do as Kenyans is right now, it's just hope. Because you know the situation in which we find ourselves in. And we just hope that by next year it will be Kenya's economy expanding by that percentage due to improvements in agriculture. Yeah.
Liberia, I saw you were following something happening in Liberia.
Yeah, a very interesting story happening in Nigeria. And it looks like a lot of our content today is around the political space in Africa. So last year, Liberia organized the elections. It was very tightly contested. In fact, they even had to go for a run of election in November of last year. And that was between the former president, Mr. George Weah, the footballer, and the current president, Mr. Joseph Boakai. And having won that runoff, the new president, Mr. Boakai, was to be sworn in, or rather was sworn in just last week. And the funny thing is that Mr. Boakai is 79 years old. Just goes to show you the kind of, or the age of leaders in which we choose to have in Africa. So the funny thing is that during his inauguration, he was giving his speech, but midway through the speech, he froze because apparently he suffered heat stroke, which they denied was due to his late age. They said that it was just due to the very high temperatures within the venue. So a few minutes into his speech, he had to stop, and in fact, he was taken away for medical examination. So the ceremony proceeded in his absentia, but he had already been sworn in. He was just giving his speech. And I was trying to look into the situation, and a lot of people are arguing that we as Africans need to believe in the power of the youth, because if you elect someone who's 79 years of age and who midway through his speech is unable to continue, I don't know how well he'll be able to run the country, because some people are joking that this is not the first time something of that sort is happening to him, because some people say that even during political meetings, a few minutes into it, he's asleep. So Liberians are unsure of how he'll be running the country. So yeah, that's what happened in Liberia in the previous week. And I'd like to get your comments, Jeff, on such kind of leaders. I'm not saying he's a bad leader, but maybe his age might not be very suitable for the position which he holds. Yeah.
You see, I have felt good because I have now understand that we have hope for our own Baba. You see, but not for the last part of the swearing in. But I see it's good to see some African leaders, even at their at their late ages, they're still standing up for their countries. They want to lead their people in the correct way. We hope that we will not do the thing like our own. Yeah.
I like to really disagree with this guy, Jeff. You know what are you saying? You know, Collins. Let us call something a spade a spade. You know, this is the problem that we have in Africa. When you're asked to say something, you must say something positive. It's not really true. You know, this guy is old, and how do you expect him to run a country? I don't even want to go into Nigeria right now. And you know, and Jeff is here championing about Baba in 2027. Do you know how old Baba will be in 2027? And you expect him to run the country until 2032? Really? And there's some other people who are capable to do that, and they are in the right fit. You know, one thing we can give our president here in Kenya, at least he's physically capable to handle these things. You see, he's always up and about, and once in a while he comes and visits us here in Kenya. So you know, we can be able to see that here, the positive side of him at least. So I don't know why we should be voting for all people. And do you know, by the way, Collins, that a majority, actually not a majority, the larger population of Africa is young people, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Right.
why then should we not allow these people to come on board? I'm not saying that like 20-year-olds or you know 30, but we are talking about people who are just right in their prime, in their ages, 40s and 50s, and they're capable of doing that, you know. And they're also, we are not, you know, always in wondering if something happens to a president, now the deputy president comes in, you know, such kind of things. I don't think it's right for a young democracy. I don't think it is good for any democracy at all. The president should be fit and should be well taken care of. Comments coming in. That is from Fred Boncongo. Fred Boncongo says that the let me see. It should be able to showcase in my screen. Yeah, that country is just a joke. The guy cannot stand for 20 minutes. Collins wacha kutetea mzee wewe, jamaa aende alale na wajukuu wake huko nyumbani. Actually, it's not Collins anamtetea, it is Jeff, right? And then he also says, anyway, Happy New Year. Good to be back here. Thank you, Fred, for coming in about today. Yeah, so I really agree with Fred. You know, let us call a spade a spade. Now, moving on to the next story, guys. Lagos.
Yeah, in Nigeria, they have banned the use of the single use of plastics and styrofoam. This is after there has been pollution in the city, the drainage has been blocked, but at the same time, people have started losing jobs who are manufacturing the single use of plastics. What do you think about that, Collins?
Yeah. It's indeed a step in the right direction, because you realize that currently we are heading towards a system of environmental sustainability and taking care of the environment for future generations. Yeah, so I think the government is heading in a right step. I'm not very sure about the intricacies of the whole situation. I'm not sure if it was abrupt or if it was phased, like they ban plastics in this sector, then this sector. But it's good news to hear of things of that sort, because I think we've all seen these videos of animals in the sea being choked by plastics, being choked by straws, and it's high time we took care of the environment for our future generations. Because I think Kenya banned the paper bags a few years ago, and it has served as well. We thought that it will be very difficult to live without those bags, but thus far we have moved on well, and I think they have taken a step in the right direction. And let's watch and see what happens from it.
Yeah, you know, Kenya let me say allude that they have banned plastic, and I'm not really sure whether they did. But Rwanda have been very serious about it. And let us just hope Nigeria, for crying out loud, they'll be a little bit, serious about it. And in that previous regard, when you're talking about Liberia, Fred Bonner said, this is Fred's statement, that Jeff, we will ban you from this place. So I think if we get more sentiments like that, we will definitely be banning Jeff from this place. The whole point of us being here is to have a free space. We are talking about the truth, right? Yeah. Now, moving on to the next story. Britain is set to loan looted artifacts to Ghana. Yeah, you heard me right. Britain is set to loan. Listen carefully. To loan. I found this thing very amazing. Is set to loan looted artifacts to Ghana. So I really do not understand my language. What is happening in this world? Britain is loaning Ghana what they stole in the first place. Now, this is the story. UK has been facing a lot of increasing demand, or basically increasing demand to return treasures like artifacts that were acquired during their Great Britain rule, when they are colonizing parts of the world, and especially in Africa. They have been now been asked, it is high time you guys bring back what is owed to us. And in their wisdom, this is what is amazing. In their wisdom now, Britain has decided to loan these things that they stole to Ghana. They've been doing that because they're saying it's not a new arrangement, because two British museums are returning looted gold and silver. Remember, Ghana was also called the Gold Coast. Gold and silver to Ghana under a long-term agreement. That's the thing, under a long-term agreement. And they're saying, this is not a unique approach, and it has been happening. Yeah. And now, listen now to the most interesting thing that I find interesting. Britain is saying, or the people who are representing Britain are saying, that we will expect that these items will be returned at the end of the loaning period. My goodness. That they are expecting that they will return. Collins, I don't know whether you are just hearing what these guys are saying.
I'd like to compare this situation to one in high school, in which a certain gentleman talked to his friend and told his friend, I have 1,000 shillings. How much do you have? The friend told him, I also have 1,000 shillings. So do this. Take this 1,000 shillings and keep it for the both of us. Then at night, he came and stole the 2,000 shillings. And the following morning, he was demanding for his 1,000 shillings back.
Yeah.
So this situation is basically disrespect to the Ghanaian people, because I don't understand how you can steal from someone, then loan back what you stole from them. I think it's high time we Africans stood up to our ideals and criticize these Western powers for what we're doing. Because this story might look funny, but from my point of view, it's very disrespectful to the African man. Because how do you do that to someone? I can't even understand how you come up with such a law, because it looks funny. How do you just sit down and say that we stole this from you, but to make you feel less assaulted or violated, I'm loaning this thing back to you? I think they'd rather even stay with those things, because that's just disrespectful. Yeah. I don't like to say more, because at this point I might end up saying more than perhaps our viewers can take. Yeah.
No, it's okay. This is an open space, and that's how it is there. Britain should just get off their high horse. It is actually disrespectful. It is demeaning. I don't. Correct me if I'm wrong. I really am open to be corrected here if I'm not saying what is right. But come on, you stole these things from them, and it is not only Ghana. Across the world, these people stole a lot of things. It is in their museums. Now, instead of you returning it, you're not coming up with very shady things like loaning. How can you loan me what is mine? Collins, that doesn't make sense. And Jeff, I don't know what are your views on this, because it's like the thing I was telling you guys the other day, you come to my land and you expect me to learn your language so that we can communicate. It's weird, and it's some of the saddest things that we got out of the colonial period. But Jeff, what are your thoughts?
I have an argument. What about Ghana? Are they accepting the offer?
Mm-hmm.
So if Ghana is accepting the offer, I think they are accepting the disrespect. You see, they should
No,
start.
no. Jeff, you need to stand up for the African person, because you realize it could very easily have been you, and you would have expected your African brothers to stand for you, because this is just neo-colonialism. If you look at it, because it's very disrespectful. Like the way that they came to our land and divided it amongst themselves, and then told us you have to pay tax for you to stay on your land. And there are some things which, even though they might not affect us directly, we need to stand against and criticize very vehemently. So Jeff, they've told you you'll be kicked out of this forum, and it looks like you're running on luck. Your next comment needs to be very politically correct for you to keep on
No,
being in the show.
let him be free and argue his thoughts. It's allowed to do. You are allowed to do. Jeff, you think that you are, but let us use some little bit of common sense here. It doesn't hurt to do so. You see, Collins. I'm still amazed. Today, one of the funny stories today is just this. But maybe Jeff, just to reiterate what what Colin saying, maybe they have said this. Heri nusu shari, kuliko shari kamili. Why? It's rather you go half a loss than you go full loss, because maybe if we don't agree to this, these guys are not even going to allow us to just have an experience of our history. So basically, so let us just have it a little bit. So, I don't know, maybe I can't say what they're thinking, but, I'm just looking at Britain, and I know Ghana should do better, but come on, this is so weird. And I'm seeing people really reacting to this story. Odoro Mondi saying that the British government is at it is. It is now a new thing in Ghana's case. Remember, King's visit to Kenya, his refusal to apologize, in brackets, British government regrets, but didn't apologize. Oh, Africa. And then Shiko Mwangi saying that returned to whom? Kama nani? How does that make sense? It doesn't. And then
Bashir, I'm trying to imagine this situation in which somebody steals something from you, and then you go to the police station, and he argues that he will loan back what he stole from you for a few weeks, and then take it back. It looks ridiculous, really, if you look at it.
Kabisa, this is so ridiculous, and we will be following up this story, and we'll see how it will end up. But something that is happening, and it's very sad. Some neocolonialism happening. So sad. You guys can go and check it out. In the internet, such kind of things are not new. As you have heard, as I've said, they say it is not a new arrangement. It is something that is happening, and we really, I think, I don't know if we should condemn actually publicly, but it's something that is really not right, and I just have to say it here. And then one more comment from Fred Bonkongo saying that it is time we call a spade a spade. Britain is rich because of the historical injustices that they did to Africa. This is very bad. Do you know the Lions? Britain came from Makueni, Kenya. Okay, you indulge us with that. And I can see Brandon Maina is saying that munasahau Jeff ni the whites. Anyway, greetings Brandon. Thank you for tuning in, Brandon. And then Mariam Reza said some emoji there, and so thank you for being live. Now, want to move on to the next thing that is happening in Africa. Collins.
Yeah. It looks like according to Brandon's comment, Jeff is sufficiently colonized and is yet to break free from those chains.
Maybe Jeff is under the impression, or let me say under the illusion that he is white.
That he is white.
My friend.
Maybe he identifies as a
Oh,
white
sorry,
man.
sorry. You know, if at all he identifies as the right person, ni sawa. Anyway, let us move on.
Yeah. Now moving on, we are coming back to Kenya, where just recently in Embu County, Bere South, they discovered deposits of coltan. And if you guys follow technology and things to do with that, you know that coltan is very important during the manufacture of mobile phones, laptops, and electronic gadgets. So currently in the world, almost close to 70% of that resource comes from the DRC, from Congo. And just recently it was discovered in Kenya. This is very welcome news according to the leaders of that area. And I saw the area MP actually urging people not to be fooled into selling their land. And I saw the governor saying that the proceeds from this will go into developing the county and the district. However, according to some people's points of views, these things, these minerals might actually be a curse in disguise. They might look like a blessing, but they might be a curse. Because some time back I was watching a documentary on these coltan mines in the DRC, and even though a lot of Western powers benefit from these minerals, the people who actually do the hard labor, the miners, actually go home with very little from it. And I try to look at the conditions in which they live, and it's a very sad situation down there in Congo. And we just hope that our Kenyan leaders will do right by the people of Embu County, because you realize this is not the first time mineral deposits have been discovered in Kenya. Like in 2012, they discovered oil in Turkana. You know how that story went. Every day we hear a new thing comes up. They also discovered copper. Then some time ago, they also discovered titanium in Kwale. And just recently, the company which was mining Kwale actually left. So we just hope and pray for the people of Embu County that their leaders will be sane enough to take the right decisions for them and to ensure that this resource is utilized very well, because it's a very important resource in the contemporary world. And we are happy for the discovery, and we hope that their leaders will just take a step in the right direction and drive their growth forward. Jeff,
Yeah.
I know you're a fan of mobile phones. I'm not sure if you are of the idea that coltan is used in mobile phones, and now that you know, do you think that
I just
this
want
discovery will act as a blessing, or will it be a curse in disguise for our country?
Okay, I just first want to say that, according to Fred Ball, makosa ni yangu. I've accepted. And about the coltan mineral, I just hope that corruption doesn't get that way. You see, saa watu wameanza kuona kama that's a rich get scheme. So I just hope that corruption doesn't get that, and we hope for the best. Yeah.
You know, actually, before Collins, remember what was happening in Ngamia One? So that is my whole comment reaction to this. Remember the Ngamia One story? But comments that are coming in, people are still reacting to what we have talked about earlier. And Fred Bonkongo, had said something about the the lions, and he's now actually following up with, Ashira, I mean, the lions in Britain came from Akweni, Kenya. Otherwise, there were no lions in Britain. Indeed, true. And that's why I'm so shocked sometimes when I look at their can I use their seal? The way people have the public seal, and it's full of lions and all that. And then somebody by the name Timothy Mabango has just sent me a comment in my WhatsApp. It's a very, very funny one. That's why you guys are seeing me looking at this other side. He's saying that funny story on the Gunners beat. Back in high school, unapata form 4 amekuibia cup, which you quote used to be melanine or something of the sort. So the newer the shiner. Sasa juu mtu uko form 1 na huna otherwise, inabidi uombe form 4 cup. Like bro, ukimalizia caps uniokolee, na hadi unaona ni jina yako iko hapo label. So he's remembering that kind of story, but either way, it's interesting, really interesting. Now, other stories that are happening in the continent. I'm sure you guys have been following up on these, Jeff.
Oh yeah, in
I don't know if Jeff is still there. Jeff, can you hear us, or something has happened on his end? I think we have lost Jeff, some network issues. Hope he'll join us before we end it up. Now, there's also a new story that is coming from Egypt, from the north. Collins, I don't know if you're able to see this, but China helps launch Egypt Misrat 2 satellite, right? Now, this satellite has been launched in China, but it's an Egyptian satellite, but the Chinese have helped them do so. And it's very interesting because, when it comes to issues of space exploration, Africa hasn't really been coming really clearly. But we are seeing that some countries are really trying. And now, even from the point, first of all, launching some satellites so that you can even go into now issues of space exploration. And this is really nice, according to me, because the Egyptian Space Agency said that the satellite will be used in fields such as agriculture and water conservancy, and it will also be useful to other African countries. So this is a really a nice thing in terms of issues of science and that in Africa, Collins.
Yeah. All I'd like to say regarding this situation is kudos to Egypt.
Yeah,
I think they are taking a step in the right direction, and this could just serve as a stepping stone for other African countries who can then build from it. And then hopefully one day Africa will be part of the space race. Yeah. And now coming back to Kenya, where this issue on housing levy has been causing a lot of stir within the media and also within the Kenyan public. So you realize that last year there was passed a bill that salaried Kenyans will now have part with 1.5% of their salaries to go towards the housing levies. And the Kenyan populace was very much against this idea because some people are saying that as for me, I am 50 years old. I've already built my house. I've already built everything I need in terms of accommodation. Why then are you cutting a certain percentage from my salary? And in response to that, a petition was taken to the court against this housing levy. And it went through the High Court and then the Court of Appeal, which again rejected this, saying it was unconstitutional because some people argue that you can't build a house using funds from the public and then sell the house at market rate. You're not subsidizing the prices. And a lot of Kenyans looked at it as a sort of way in which from us, because if you look at the housing fund, up to now, almost 36 billion shillings has gone into that fund. So when that issue
Okay. Yeah, I think I had him, and then we've lost him there. Hopefully, can also rejoin. We are experiencing some network issues here. I'm not sure now whether Collins can hear me, but he was talking about the issue that is happening in Kenya, where the Court of Appeal has actually halted, if we can use that word, they have halted the housing levy, and I'm sure our president is really not happy with that. However, that is basically what is happening in our country. A very interesting turnout there, because you expected now, because there are some top talks in the country between the judiciary and the executive, that maybe they will go in bed with each other, but as the way people are saying, but it's actually not seeming to be the case. Now, a very other interesting thing that is happening that happened in the continent is the Orthodox Christians in Ethiopia celebrated the baptism of Jesus. Now, the Orthodox Christians in Ethiopia, their religion is actually very interesting if you are not aware of it. So they celebrated the baptism of Jesus. It's called the Timket Festival. So Timket is a festival that marks the baptism of Jesus, and actually it happened this last Saturday in Addis Ababa. And in the ritual, the tabot, or a tabot is something that is covered with, it's covered with a cloth and carried by priest to a nearby water source. So they do that. That is how they actually celebrate the baptism of Jesus. So it's quite interesting to see such kind of things in Africa. There are various religions that are happening in the continent. So I am sure that are actually practiced rather in the continent. I'm sure it's actually very interesting to look at them. So Collins, just before your network misbehaved, I was sharing, you were talking about the housing levy, which I've explained to the audience, and I was just basically sharing also here about the Timket Festival, which is something that is happening in Ethiopia. They are celebrating the baptism of Jesus. And Fredman Congo is saying that Kenya is an interesting country. What happened to coal mining at Mui Basin? We are endowed with minerals, but the government is never serious. What's the role of the I think the ministry or the Department of Mining and Blue Economy, by the way? What is the role? So Collins, I think he was reacting to that story. Yeah.
Yeah. I had problems with my network. I think Britain stole it from me for a few minutes, then it has loaned it back to me. Yeah, but just like Fredborn was saying, the issue with the minerals, yeah, it just has to do with the kind of leaders you have. If you put in place the right systems and the right systems of governance, it will always work, because these Western powers have deposits of minerals, they mine them and they work. Because if you look at oil companies, for example, like Shell, Total, these companies also mine within the European continent, and there everything seems to be working. But once they come out of their continents and it comes to Africa now, because of the systems of governance we've put in place, it's very hard for such endeavors to work. And on the issue of the housing levy, something I find funny about that whole situation is that, yes, the courts ruled against the housing levy, but our president in his wisdom said that he's not going to follow what the courts are doing. He actually said that he's going to go on with that plan as it has been said, or as it had been put down before. So I don't know where we are heading exactly as a country, if a court can say something and then the leadership within the country chooses to blatantly ignore what the courts have said. Yeah. And now coming back to Kenya, over the past few months, this issue has been on the media a lot. So initially what was to happen was that 1,000 Kenyan officers were to be sent to Haiti. And I read a funny comment somewhere that probably more than half of those 1,000 officers can't even locate Haiti on a map, but they are being sent there to fight for exactly what I don't know. But Haiti basically has been under the control of gangs for all of 2 years or 3 years. And this happened since the assassination of their president in 2021. And the situation is very dire, because more than half of the people in the country are now displaced, because most of the territory, especially within the capital city, are now under the control of gangs. And I was trying to picture our Kenyan police officers trying to go and fight there. It's good to support your brothers, but sometimes it's not every war to be fought, because what they are fighting for, we Kenyans might not understand. And if you try and look at that situation, that war is basically urban warfare. So they might go in with brute force and win during the first few weeks, but these people are accustomed to that situation. I was
yeah.
just
Collins,
listening
as,
to
as,
one of
as,
the gang leaders
as a
speaking,
philosopher,
and he said that
as a philosopher, we say that from nothing, nothing comes. And basically, let me put it different. You cannot give what you don't have, right? Kenya cannot be giving what we really
yeah,
don't have. Look at the things that are happening in the country. A lady the other day was chopped off.
yeah,
Her head was chopped
because
off.
yeah, because even if you look at the situation in areas like Baragoi and those interior parts of Kenya, we are still facing the problem of bandits. So I don't know why we are choosing to ignore our problems and go solve problems of other people who, if you actually speak to them, are not very open to us helping them. So
Yeah.
according to the court ruling, first of all, the court said that the National Security Council has no mandate sending Kenyans up. In fact, police officers abroad. Because I was also trying to look at the constitution. The work of police officers is actually protecting us within our borders. So I don't know
Mm.
when it gets to that point that we are now starting to export police officers who are in fact not even enough within our country.
Hmm.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
all these things basically tie down to the leadership we have and to the decision makers within the country, because some decisions are taken and you as a Kenyan are left wondering what was the process past. So personally, I would not be of that opinion that Kenyan police officers will be sent to a
Yeah.
foreign country.
I actually
Yeah,
also agree with you. I think, first of all, basically, as I've said, you cannot give what you don't have. I don't think we are really that much secure to start going uh, securing other people. I think, first of all, there's some aspect of nationalism where we take care of ourselves, because I cannot be able to take care of you, Collins, if I've not taken care of myself. And we cannot go and, you know, do all that. I think that the court, in their wisdom, have done what they think is right. Now, Collins, I think that is that for today. That is basically much of what has been happening in the continent this week, and we've actually covered much parts of the continent, from the north to the east to the south to the west, and basically that is what we will be doing here in Africa instead of the continent. African corner is not yet back, so sorry for that. So basically, always keep tuned so that when you see or hear about the state of the continent, be aware so that you can know what is happening in the continent. Now, Jeff, you keep on going and coming back. I can see you have shared a comment here you have said sorry for the inconvenience. Akina Fredbon wamenianza, and actually Fredbon is saying Jeff, wewe ni kuenda unaenda. Anyway, sorry for that. Actually, Fred, I think huyu ni kuenda anaenda. He is going to go. The way he is behaving these days, anyway, it's a free country, and I'm really glad. Now, before we call it a show or we wrap up, Jeff, I know you have something to say, but also as you're saying that, briefly remind people of the event that is coming on the 16th of March and how they can be able to access it or know more about it.
Okay, first of all, sorry for the inconvenience and network errors. Akina Fredbon, you have done that thing. Yeah, and finally, I just want to tell you that we have a scavenger hunt event on 16th March 20, or it will be on a Saturday. We have a video on our social media platforms and how you can register it. Kindly attend with your friends, with your family. You're all welcome. It's only 1,000 shillings. You can get the registration form on www.washira.com. Yeah, washiraspeaks.com. Thank you.
Yeah, Collins, final comments as we wrap up.
yeah. I must say it has been a very interesting conversations. I've liked seeing the comments coming and seeing your views on the things happening within the African continent. I've liked your thoughts on what is happening, Jeff's thoughts, even though I might not agree with them. But it has been a nice discussion, and more of this is coming within this year. And just again to remind you guys of our scavenger hunt, it's on the 16th of March. And what Jeff might not have mentioned is that there's that option to lipa mdogo mdogo. You don't have to pay the full amount at once. You can pay even as little as 200 shillings, and by 16th of March you'll have cleared your bill. Anyways, that was all from me. Hope to see
Yeah.
you next time. Yeah, with more
Just to
stories from
add
us.
on that, the scavenger hunt is planned to happen in Karura Forest. So for people who are around within Nairobi, I think it is very easy for you to do so. And also, if you are around the country, you can travel and come and have this amazing event. Join, be part of it, and just have some good time. If you want to know what the scavenger hunt is, more about it, just go to any of our social media platforms as they have been running up down there on your screen. You'll find more information on that. Or you can go to www.shiraspeaks.com, and also you go to the events tab, look at the upcoming events, you'll be able to see that there. Otherwise, we keep on reminding you that to keep on subscribing, keep on sharing, and also just to let me mention somebody, Sipo Kwaku is saying he's watching, and I really want to send our regards to him. Thank you for watching also, and for everybody who has watched us live, and everybody who will watch later, we appreciate you very, very, very much. Right now, we just like to say, have a good week ahead. Next week, we'll be back here to tell you what has been happening in the continent. So stay tuned for State of the Continent. My name is Mutathi Wachira Wanyaga. Mujiro wa mbari ya Karingithi. Ici nĩ ngerenwa cia Mũmbi Mũmbũri. Thayo, thayo, thayo.
Are you an outdoor person who likes having fun? Or are you an introvert who likes having fun once in a while? Or are you basically a fun person? If you're any of that, well, I welcome you to a scavenger hunt, which has been brought forth to you by Washira Speaks other team. The place will be Karura Forest. The pay will be 1,000 shillings. How about you start your lipa pole pole and not miss this fun event?